Hello and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with a Kick. We're here for Matchday 29, the last and truncated match day before we hit the spring international break. After this, won't be matches until April 1st. We're going to make it all the way to the next month without any other action coming our way for the Premier League. Obviously, there'll be international stuff, but I believe they're all relatively innocuous friendlies for at least the United States. Because, we're automatic qualifiers for the next World Cup. So if there is any World Cup qualifying, we don't have to worry about it. But that is for another topic entirely. Anything you need to get to before we get started off here?
I'm ready to go, man.
Ready to go? We will dive right in with Everton hosting West Ham United. First thing up, not a big old spade. There's 4 matches at 11, thanks to daylight savings time now being in effect. Now not being in effect, right? You spring forward and that gets rid of daylight savings time? I don't know. Either way, they're at 11 o'clock now on the 15th on this Saturday morning. How do you feel about this one for these two teams?
I think it'll be 1-1. I think there's a chance. They're both at 33. They've both gone through manager changes, up and down in form. Everton's been the better team as of late, so they could squeak out a win. I think West Ham, especially after last weekend's 1-0 loss, I think that they're gonna get a point out of this. They match up evenly with Everton, so I'm gonna go 1-1.
I've got it as a tight match as well, but I do have Everton maintaining their momentum. I've got it as a 2-1 victory for them. They're the home side. They've been having better recent performance. There's not a lot that these teams are playing for aside from bragging rights at this point. They're both safe from relegation and aren't going to be moving up very much on the table itself. So we'll see how it plays out in the end. But I have it as 2-1 going forward for Everton. But not a lot of interesting things for me to say about it. Ipswich Town, we've got the Tractor Boys versus the Tricky Trees coming up here. Another match here at 11. Nottingham Forest still getting massively disrespected in at least what I use for our units here, considering that they are third on the table and Ipswich Town is pretty much destined for relegation, and somehow you can still get 2 units for picking Nottingham Forest. I'm taking that. And I'm going to take it at a 4-1 clip for Nottingham Forest to take out those Tractor Boys. I don't think they have anything in them.
Yeah, you said it. This is one of those where it's kind of head-scratching. Maybe the odds makers know something that we do not. But I have it 4-0. I don't even think Ipswich will even get a goal. I think if you're a betting man, this could be the game that you put some dough on. Not any more than you are willing to lose. But
please, responsibly.
Gamble responsibly.
PSA. Dial that number or whatever.
Place this in a little parlay if you do that kind of stuff.
Parlay?
I think Nottingham, there's just too much at stake for them. And I think they're just, like you talked about, third. A lot more momentum has happened this season if you're in third than if you're in
City.
8th.
They've got momentum.
Yeah, so I don't see this being a close one. I think Nottingham asserts their dominance early, beats them 4-0.
Maybe you take Nottingham at 1.5 maybe, Get some more units under your belt. That could be an interesting idea. But we'll move on to that, to the briefly mentioned city. Manchester City hosts Brighton Hove Albion at the Etihad. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think City can keep up with Nottingham Forest at this point in Chelsea?
Yeah, I think that we've probably got a 3-1 victory here. Brighton, not as... they're on a win streak, but this is really the game where City's got to win. Brighton, not really the team you want to face when you've won 4 straight. So, based on form, there's only 1 point separating these two teams. Defensively, neither have been super stout.
Yeah.
Maybe my bias is showing, but I think City is going to do well. 3-1.
I think City will take the full 3 points, but I think it's much more of a treacherous situation. I've got it as a 3-2 victory for City, and I think that it'll be at 2-2 before a late goal for City by a substitute that's being brought on. I'm not gonna try to pick who it is, but I will say it will be a substitute who gets it. But yeah, I mean, Brighton's doing well right now. So if you're picking a time to take Manchester City on at home, I would say it's while you're riding a 4-game win streak. Means you're going to be firing on all cylinders. I think City's just a better squad overall, and at some point they're going to have to win another match. So I'm going to keep. If they're giving me, that many units for Manchester City winning at home, I think I will take it. I think that's a good deal for me.
Yeah.
Then we go to a home dog in Southampton taking on my Wolves. We mentioned this in the last episode, that my Wolves could very well wrap up safety in this match here. I think that they do it. Now, 4-1, that's a bit of an optimistic goal, but I do think that they will win regardless. Just 4-1 is what I felt like being, optimistic with. Brighton sunshine.
Yeah, I've got it 3-1. I think Wolves understand the importance of this match. Southampton, I mean, after their one win 5 matches ago, they've been demolished quite handily. And Wolves, again, they know, like, this is the match that could literally be the we stay safe match. So I think they come out very serious, very hungry, and they win 3-1.
I certainly hope so. It'll be a load off my mind. And then we go to a battle of the Bees. Bournemouth and Brentford. Battle of the Bees. We're going with that. Bournemouth and Brentford. How do you have this one coming down?
This one, 6 points separate these two teams. They've kind of been on similar runs. Bournemouth lost a bit more late, but I think Bournemouth takes it 2-1. I think they're at home. They understand if they win, that puts them near Champions League territory, depending on what else happens. So it could be a very important win for them. I think they take it at home 2-1.
2-1. I've got the same goal difference, just a different total figure. I've got it as 3-2. Both these teams have shown that they can score. And I'm just looking for a fun 3-2 match, as opposed to how nervous the Manchester City one's going to be. I think this one would be more fun, since it'll be more of a, at least from my own perspective, a neutral observer sort of game. And then we move to the first of arguably 2 North-West London Derbies. This one is Arsenal versus Chelsea. For this one, Arsenal, I think that they have to get this one more. They lost last week. This is their game in hand for Liverpool. If they have any inkling of possibly chipping away at that first that Premier League trophy, they have to win this one. I think they do it. I've got it as 4-2 for Arsenal over Chelsea. But I think that there's one side that's certainly more desperate in this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 1-1. Chelsea's in better form than Arsenal. Arsenal 2 points out of their last 9. Chelsea 6 of their last 9, 1-2 straight. I think that Chelsea's starting to figure it out defensively. They've been much better. Beginning of the season, it was kind of like if they don't score a lot, they're not going to win. Mm-hmm. But this season, it's been they can win and get some points by playing some good defense. So I think it'll be 1-1. Arsenal with Liverpool out of the Champions League now. Yeah. I think that Arsenal's probably going to turn towards thinking about Champions League. And this will be that game that solidifies, hey, we're too far gone here.
Yeah.
We maybe if they draw 14 points off the lead. So it could be that shifting moment where Arsenal says, hey, we're just trying to get our footing back in the Premier League, but ultimately Champions League is what we're focusing on.
Yeah, I think that would be wise on their side to just focus on Champions League at that point. And then to the other, technically North-West London derbies. No one really cares about Fulham when it comes to derbies unless they're playing Chelsea. How do you think this one's going to go for ostensibly a North-West London derby?
It's one of those where obviously it matters more for Tottenham than Fulham. Mm-hmm. But Fulham's still trying to hang in there, maybe get some European competition. Tottenham, they pretty much have to win out to have a chance to get into Europe. I think it goes 2-2. Jack Craven Cottage. These matches usually they're pretty exciting. They go pretty well. So I'll go 2-2.
I've got this one as actually a pretty dull one. I have this as a 1-0 victory for Fulham. They've been pulling off a lot of these low-scoring matches here this season, just sort of grinding them out the whole time and then getting some goal in like the 60-something minute and just coasting through to the end. I think they're able to pull it off here. They've been decent at home. So Tottenham, they've been better of late, obviously, but they're still unpredictable to a certain degree. So I'm hoping that Fulham can pull this one off for good old Flynn 21, I think is his name, on the YouTubes. And then finally, we wrap up the truncated match day, the abbreviated match day, to use a different descriptor. Leicester City hosting Manchester United. This one, I think it's also pretty straightforward. Manchester United will take it 3-0, in my view.
I think this will be 1-1.
Oh.
Man U, they're one of those teams that they seem to have found their footing. But with how this season has gone, this would be one of those games where I think they could even lose. They'll just come out potentially lackadaisical. Leicester, again, they're still within shouting distance. They got to get some points. They're at home. So I think it goes 1-1.
1-1. Now, there is one other bit of news that we would need to cover for Manchester United, because they did announce that they are going with a new stadium rather than refurbishing Old Trafford. Did you see any of these mock-ups for what their stadium is going to look like?
It looks rather different.
It looks like a giant circus tent in some of those images. 100,000 seat stadium there in. I didn't see where they're going to put it, but they'll probably still be outside of Manchester, actually.
Yeah, I think it'll be even further. I don't think it's going to necessarily be. Yeah, I don't think it'll be too far from Old Trafford. I think they've got a lot of land out there, but very interesting. I think the numbers, no one on here listening cares about the Tennessee Titans, but it's very similar to the Titans deciding to build a new NFL stadium, because you could spend $1.3 billion renovating your old stadium, making it or you could spend 2 billion and get a brand new state-of-the-art stadium. That's kind of what the thinking went into here, but I mean, also strange because Man U's still technically potentially up for sale. Like the owners don't necessarily they're not slamming the door on any offers, but they're not going to accept less than $8 billion. It's kind of weird that this announcement came at this time, but yeah, it looks interesting. I agree with the circus tent vibe. They got those two almost spires.
Yeah, 2.6 billion is the number I'm seeing here.
Which is always it's probably going to be closer to 3 because there's no way that schedule is going to stay. Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's in current dollars. So by the time we get there, it'll be much more than that. Boy, it does look intimidating. Some of these, we'll see how it ends up being in the thing, but those mock-ups are pretty. Those are stacked seats. They got them all in there. I'll tell you that. That's sort of a real big Coliseum flair there. Which actually, that's the Coliseum back in ancient Rome did actually have a retractable roof. So it's actually got some of that vibe to it here. I don't know if they're going for that or if it's just, stadiums sort of end up looking similar to a certain degree. But yeah, that's the big news there, that Old Trafford. Did they say whether they're going to tear it down or if they'll just convert it into something else?
I don't know. It's got a lot of history. I would guess that they'll ideally convert it, but you never know.
Or use it as a practice ground or just keep it in the rotation. It'd be hard to tear it down. I mean, they've been there since the 1800s or whatever.
There's not a lot else in Manchester, so...
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up Match Day 29 previews. We'll be back on the other side of the weekend with a recap of that and the Champions League round of 16 results, which are currently in the midst of rolling in as we record this. Our picks so far have been decent on the first day. We'll see how they wrap up on the second day, but not a great result for England thus far. In some of those, but we'll see how they pull it out in the second day, which is where more of the action is happening for them. All right, But until we do get over there, anything you need to say before we get out of here?
No. I'm good. Matchday 29. Nice little slow weekend. Less games.
Yep. All right. And then until we get back, why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer, and we'll see you on the other side. I bet you.